Guess what?
What?
I'm going to force my Belgian chicory.
Oh,
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
No, I'm going there. Yeah. Oh, by the way,
Oh, yeah?
I've got a present for you.
Oh.
Genuinely.
You got...
Yeah, genuinely. Now, I should
Is this
say,
going to be on the show?
it was Tom's birthday recently, and I missed his birthday. So I bought a little present along. I'm sorry, it's not wrapped, so I'm going to just quickly
It's all right.
produce it from my bag.
Genuine surprise.
No, that's right.
Oh, my word.
There you go, mate.
I've been looking for one of these.
I know.
Guns and how they work.
You've got to know people. That's all I say. I mean, I feel a bit guilty about...
Hog. He's a bit of a legend in the firearms community.
Everything you want to know about the Smith & Wesson, it's in there, mate. The Thompson,
God.
it's all there. It's all there. I mean, I feel a bit weird about encouraging your weird obsession, but I'm just trying to make you happy.
Well, you've done well. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Just keep a lid on it, all right?
Okay.
Just keep a lid on it.
Should we do the show?
Yeah. Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Review to a Kill. My name's James and I'm a big James Bond fan.
And my name's Tom and I'm a big movie fan, but I haven't watched a lot of James Bond films.
And on the second take he got that right. Tonight we are going to be looking at Thunderball.
Yay!
But before we get into that, I want to give our usual warning that we give before every episode.
Oh yeah.
There will be...
spoilers!
So if you haven't seen Thunderball, please pause now, go and watch the movie, and then come back and watch us. Now, the whole idea of these episodes, as you know, is that we score the Bond film that we're talking about based on my view of it for the millionth time, and Tom's
I'm just putting my phone away. It looks really unprofessional, but it's because I use it in the show.
I just thought you were leaning forward for slightly,
Sorry, it just looked like I'm messing with my phone. And
hands above the table.
It is to do with the show.
Right. Before we start doing this, before we do Thunderball, I just want to go back to the previous episode, if I may.
Okay.
And talk about episode 3, which was, of course, was Goldfinger.
Yeah.
We love to hear your comments, so if you would like to leave a comment on any of our episodes, just leave a little comment below the line on YouTube.
Yeah.
And just put something in there. And frankly, we don't care if it's good or bad, because we just like talking about it.
Yeah.
It's just nice to know people's
But
sense of
don't
comments.
slag us off, just for a laugh, you know.
Well,
if you've got genuine stuff that you
gives us something to talk about in the next episode.
want to let us know that we're no good at.
Yeah. To wit, the prize for the nicest feedback that we received in between these last 2 episodes goes to Mrs. Elizabeth Wallace, who says that our shows are getting better with every episode, which is absolutely lovely. It's nice to know we have a fan.
It's good.
And our fan, by the way...
It's not like our mum.
Exactly. But our fan has recently celebrated, Mrs. Wallace, has recently celebrated her 80th birthday.
Wow.
So isn't that amazing? So thank you very much, Mrs. Wallace.
Happy
Betty,
birthday.
if I may be so bold. Happy birthday from both of us, and thank you for your feedback.
Cheers.
Now, this episode we are talking about
Thunderball,
which, according to Tom's piece of objet d'art behind me, the French le bibliothèque.
Oh yeah.
Ah oui, c'est bon. Thunderball is Opération Tonnerre. Non, c'est bon. L'opération Tonnerre, c'est pas de problème. Oui. So, I will give you some basic information about Thunderball, and then we will move to the Bond board for the scoring. So, strap in, here we go. Some basic information on Thunderball. This is the 4th movie in the franchise. It was based on the 8th James Bond novel by Ian Fleming. which Tom has bought a brand new copy of because I've forced him to, mate. That's your homework, right? Get all that read by tomorrow.
Okay.
Now, the main thing about Thunderball was there was a big palaver legally over this story. It was, in legal terms, a right kerfuffle, which I'm not going to go into in any great detail because it's just really boring. But basically, Thunderball was made in 1965. There was then an unofficial remake in 1983, which of course was Never Say Never Again, which we will talk about in a later episode, which the frequency of which we're doing these, we'll probably get to that in about 2036. But anyway, so the legal dispute over this was basically around who originally wrote the story, whether it was Fleming or whether he stole it from someone else. The legal dispute started in 1961 and wasn't resolved until 2006. So I'm not going into all that because it's just too boring, right?
That's fair.
Just know in the background there's all kinds of legal shenanigans going on.
That's all I need to know.
That's plenty for the average man in the street who we represent. So honestly,
if you like to do further reading, don't go on the show where we've got fake casino.
You know what we said? We want feedback, not about that. Right, this was Sean Connery's fourth movie as Bond. He's looking very relaxed in the role.
He is,
quite a lot of comedy in this film, which we will come to later on. However, there were the first signs that he was getting annoyed with the attention. He only gave a very small number of interviews during this movie, and he spent a lot of time moaning about the bad side of being famous, which, heart bleeds, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, Wig Watch. Should we do Wig Watch? Wig Watch. That makes a little...
Wig Watch, that's Stingray.
It's Wig Watch. I think the wig, frankly, deserves, top billing in this movie. But the wig has to do a lot of work in this movie.
I mean, they must have spent a fair bit of money on the Turno gum for the underwater bits. And
the wig spends most of its time underwater or getting blown away, it works really hard in this. The wig is basically a stuntman in this film.
I think that's fair, yeah. And I imagine a rather expensive one.
Yes. Okay. Terence Young returned as director. Guy Hamilton, as we know, did Goldfinger, but Terence Young, who did Dr. No and From Russia With Love, returned for Thunderball. This would be the third and final Bond film that he would direct. Claudine Auger was cast as Domino. She was the runner-up in the 1958 Miss World contest. Her voice was once again dubbed by Nikki Van der Zyl. Julie Christie, Raquel Welch, and Faye Dunaway were all considered for this role. Faye Dunaway was apparently very close to signing, but in the end they went with Claudine Auger. Largo was played by Adolfo Celli, an Italian actor who had previously been in Von Ryan's Express with Frank Sinatra and Trevor Howard. Not Terrence Howard, as I said in an earlier episode.
Terrence Howard's the bloke in the first Iron Man. Before he got replaced by
who's still alive and black and therefore nothing like Trevor Howard. So apologies for the mistake. This, I'm talking about Trevor Howard. His voice was dubbed by Robert Rietti, who had dubbed Strangways in Dr. No, and was latterly in Never Say Never Again. He was the only person, apart from Connery, who was in both Thunderball and its remake. Never Say Never Again. There's a little fact for you. Luciana Paluzzi was Fiona Volpe. She was originally up for the part of Domino. The return of Felix, which I know you will approve of. And another...
He just keeps doing it, doesn't he?
And another magnificent hairstyle in this. I mean, fantastic. Felix was played in this movie by the magnificently named Rick Van Nutter. Which
it's appropriate.
And I want to name a dog Rick Van Nutter. That's just a brilliant name. Rick Van Nutter was at the time married to Anita Ekberg, who we saw, or at least we saw her face, in From Russia With Love in the big billboard that the guy climbs out of. So there's a little bit of a connection. Link back to the film.
And he also still wears a full suit on the bloody beach or near the pool.
I've just said, if you're not on a beach in a suit and tie, you can't be a CIA agent. That's the rule.
Can you spot the spy
in
this scene that I'm cutting to right now?
The return of Bond regulars, Bernard Lee as M, Desmond Llewellyn as Q, and Lois Maxwell as Moneypenny. Again. Richard Maybaum, Bond royalty, and John Hopkins wrote the script, and Kevin McClory, who was the man that Fleming had the long drawn-out legal battle with, was actually given a producer credit on this film as part of the deal that they came to. So, Historical context, this was made in 1965. There is a very big reference. What are you?
Rubber Soul, isn't it?
Rubber Soul. Of course it is. I hadn't spotted that. Nice. Should have got that, really, with my Beatles hat on.
No, keep subtle, but I made a big...
No, I liked it. And keep it subtle. It's good. So, 1965, there is a big reference in this movie to the Great Train Robbery, which had only happened a little time previously, a couple of years previously, when the Spectre operative in Paris, the English Spectre operative, talks about our consultation fee for the Great Train Robbery.
Yeah.
Sort of implying that Spectre had a hand in the Great Train Robbery. I like the idea that they had to have a consultation. Was there like a consultant who was charging for this? I can give you advice on how to use this.
Yeah.
Perhaps he was doing adverts on TV. Call this number now for advice on how to rob a train. Anyway, brief information on the source novel. So this novel was originally published in 1961. And basically the whole background to the legal dispute was former Ian Fleming collaborators Kevin McClory and Jack Whittingham sued Ian Fleming shortly after the 1961 publication of this novel Thunderball because they claimed he had based it upon a screenplay that they had earlier written together as a trio and not credited them. The film itself has the same basic plot regarding the theft of the nuclear warheads and so on as in the book, and also as would later be in the remake Never Say Never Again. So it's a tried and trusted story. The production for this movie did hit a few problems. The production for this movie was made in France, Bahamas and Miami. Then they went back to Pinewood Studios. A lot of the internal scenes in the Bahamas are actually in Pinewood Studios. Sorry to shatter the illusion there. And Silverstone Racing Circuit was used for the chase of Count Lippy and the death when Fiona's chasing him on the motorbike. That was actually in Silverstone. There was a slight problem in filming in the Bahamas in that in the scene when Bond is in the pool with the sharks, one of the sharks got free and almost bit Sean Connery, which would be a minor issue in shooting terms, I would say.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
How much of it, how dangerous the actual production was.
Well,
I'm guessing probably really dangerous.
Pretty dangerous. Apparently he was behind plexiglass, but whether they didn't have enough plexiglass or some of it broke or whatever, but a shark got through and apparently Connery was out of the water like faster than he went in. We've gone out without getting wet, basically. But so yeah, a bit of a problem. We should say as well, aqualungs were very new at this point. So the idea of scuba diving and all the rest of it developed by Jacques Cousteau, I think. Again, your French board's working overtime, Simon. That was all quite new at the time, so very sort of exciting and wonderful for cinema audiences at that time. One other slight problem, at the end when they blow up the Disco Volante, the special effects team got some, and I will quote directly here from the Bond Bible, Some Kind of Hero by Matthew Field and R.J. Chowdhury. The team got hold of some, and I quote, experimental rocket fuel. Now, how much do you want to be a very long way away from that? Right? So when they blew up the Disco Volante, they had no idea how big or small the explosion was going to be. And of course, they only had one boat, so they're going to do it once. Yeah. So erring on the side of caution, they decided to douse the boat in this experimental rocket fuel. Oh, okay. When they set the boat off and blew it up, it apparently blew out windows in Grand Bohemia 30 miles away. 30 miles away. That's crazy. So yeah, big explosion at the end. Very famous scenes. I know, just like, could it happen today? Well, let's just do it and see what happens. Yeah. Some very famous scenes in this movie. Most notably, I think, the meeting of Spectre in Paris when they're all around the table. Fantastic. You can't see number one. You can just see the cat that he's holding. And, of course, one of them gets fried in the electric chair that's hidden, that's got.
I will add...
Yes?
Number 5 in that scene is played by a man called Philip Stone, who most people remember as being Zogi the High Priest in Flash Gordon. Good, great, always great to see Philip Stone.
1 week without talking about guns or Flash Gordon, that's all I ask, honestly. One criticism of this movie was that there was too much underwater filming. Although it was absolutely groundbreaking at the time, they almost sort of overdid it a little bit. 25% of this movie takes place underwater.
Yeah, but I mean, that's like complaining there's too much water in Waterworld. What's wrong with people? I'm just watching all the water scenes going...
And state of the art for 1965.
How did they do all this?
Yeah, and in fact,
die.
Well, indeed, they actually won an Oscar for those underwater effects. They won an Oscar for best visual effects. So, clearly some people liked it. Controversies, anything that wouldn't be included now. Again, I think we're back to something similar to the barn scene in Goldfinger, and that is the scene with Nurse Fearing in the health club steam room. Yeah. I suppose my silence might have a price. Which is isn't it, really, in the modern era? But obviously in 1965, things were a little bit different. So the critical reception for this was absolutely off the charts. Even today, Rotten Tomatoes has an 87% approval rating for this movie. So really, really high. Yeah. And ka-ching. Because the box office for this... The budget for this movie was 9 million. I don't know if you remember. They went from 1 million to 2 million to 3 or 4 million, I think, for Goldfinger. 3, was it? And then 9 million for Thunderball. So quite a substantial uplift in the budget. Yeah. The box office, 141 million, which in 1965 is just an unbelievable sum. Yeah. Hugely, hugely popular. Anyway, that's the background. We must move
onto the board.
Onto the Bond board, which is the arbiter of all things Bond, the bastion of good taste that is the Bond board.
Absolutely.
Are you ready to go in, or do we need to take a short break? Should we go straight in, or are you good?
We're good. All right, okay. I'm cutting one of them things. Right.
Got your sunglasses?
Now, we do have a slight problem in that I have managed to knacker the lights.
No, you've broken the lights on the bomb.
Don't worry.
No, because every week I say,
don't worry
Tom,
about it.
Activate the bomb board.
Hear me out. Hear me out, because I've been Googling it.
If this is a Flash Gordon thing, I'm going to be really
It's
upset.
not Flash Gordon. It's nothing to do with Flash Gordon. What it says is I have to do a little prayer. And
prayer?
A prayer, and the board should come on. So do you want to put the lights? The glare.
Yes.
Just in
we'll
case.
We'll take no chances. Because,
got to mind our retinas here. So
absolutely.
Right.
I mean, the main thing is with these is that we don't look stupid.
Yeah, I know.
Because it would be ridiculous.
You look stupid if you haven't got these on.
No,
once this kicks off, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So if
Tom,
you just join me,
will you please activate the Bond board?
Oh, Bond board, giveth your light. Let's help the show to not be a load of shite. Amen. Jesus! My retinas! Bomb board, take it down, not for crying out loud. Jesus. It's okay, James.
Thank goodness for that.
Sorry about that.
It
did say that may take out your retinas.
Just to be on the safe side, I'm going to leave mine for a minute. Oh, dear.
Right, it's working though, that's the main thing.
We got prayer. Through it. Just no more prayer, because that was too much, right? You need to, There's planes going the wrong direction out there, right? Just go careful. Right, we have activated the Bond board. Yeah. Hurrah. Which means, let's talk you through, for new viewers, let's talk you through the Bond board. We have 12 categories, which Tom and I believe are essential.
Yes.
The quintessential elements of a Bond movie. My scores are in red, Tom's are in blue. We both score each category. We see how our scores compare. Me having seen it for the millionth time, and Tom
I normally
for the first.
Pull several muscles in doing so.
Yes, because he hurts his back because he's an old man now. And then we have a grand total at the end with which we build up a pop-tastic pick of the pops when it comes to our Bond scores. Currently in the lead is Goldfinger with 191. From Russia With Love has 184, and Dr. No has 143. So those are the scores to quite literally beat. So, first category is...
Opening sequence.
Opening sequence.
Pre-titles,
Pre-title sequence.
It's a doozy.
Yeah. It's good.
I love this.
Good,
I mean, so is it Jacques Bouvard?
Jacques Bouvard.
I did get it right. I bet I didn't spell it right, but I did
Monsieur
it phonetically.
de Jacques Bouvard, oui.
And at the beginning, there are several shots where that is clearly a lady. The widow is a lady.
She is.
But it's switched out and you're meant to think, I want a lady.
I want a lady after all.
Sorry, I've watched that a few times. Makes me laugh out loud every time I watch it.
She's suddenly very feminine and then she's not.
But what was it? I offer my sincere condolences. I'm starting to get a load more Austin Powers jokes.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's a man baby, basically. But some very funny shots of the guy in an old lady's dress, looking a little bit like Jack Lemmon or something.
Well, it's actually. Do you remember the stuntman we've seen in many previous? Movies, Bob Simmons.
It's
him in a dress.
Amazing.
It's a man, baby.
He wears it well.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I think we should also talk about it in the pre-title sequence as well. I know that the jetpack has become this iconic thing, and it's great. And in 1965, it must have been completely mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Right? I do think there is a slight issue with the jetpack where not only does he produce a jetpack that is about the size of this table, right, that he's wearing on his back, but he also has a crash helmet. He leans down from wherever he happened to be, produces this crash helmet to put it on, and then he lands by the DB5, and as they're putting it in the boot, he says, no well-dressed man should be without one. In other words, I had it on me all the time. This thing's the size of a wardrobe, I like the jetpack stunt, but...
It looks pretty cool for 65. Yes, it's quite silly. And then it goes back in the DB5 has got we see the bulletproof plate thing, the shield, and then it sprays water out of the exhaust pipes become water cannons.
Yeah.
Which the henchman could just go like
exactly. Water.
And then done that and that knackered up his car.
Well, I'll tell you what that reminds me of. Have you seen that bit in The Naked Gun when Leslie Nielsen bursts into the hospital room, and the guy throws the pillow at him, and Leslie Nielsen's like, with the pillow over his face, right? So, I mean, it's just water.
Yeah. Then I don't...
Oh, we're getting wet. Well, let's just get him anyway and dry off afterwards.
I don't think the car's going anywhere after
that. But let's be honest, we're taking some of the fun out of it. Well, it's a Bond film, it's escapism, it's supposed to be silly and fun. So.
Of course, I'm being a bit sneering, but I'll tell you what, I've given that a 9 out of 10. Just
Have you?
The sheer enjoyment of just from the start,
You've gone big 9.
It's a massive roller coaster of a sequence, that one.
You've gone big 9
and
on
the flowers, just to take the piss on, where he chucks on the bloke.
I like the way that the opening shot is a coffin with JB written on.
That's it. Also,
because you think James Bond has died, but obviously they haven't done that because to kill James Bond would be ridiculous, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So that's your score, your 9. I'm gonna just be slightly more critical. I'm gonna go 7, I think, for the opening sequence. So that's 16 so far on our score. Right. Theme song is the second category. Would you like some facts on this? So the theme song, obviously sung by Tom Jones, he apparently fainted after the long note at the end. So there was a play on this.
That's amazing, Tom. That's the one. Tom,
Tom, can you now sing that every night for the next month as we do the promotional tour? There's a play on this in a 1996 spoof called Spy Hard. Where I don't know if you've seen it, but on the opening,
I don't think I watched that one.
On the opening titles, there's Weird Al Yankovic singing, and he's singing "Spy Hard," and at the end, his head blows up where the sort of the note is so long. Those opening titles are really good. In fact, they're the funniest thing in the movie. But anyway, so the song was originally going to be a song called "Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang,"
right.
Which was going to be done by Shirley Bassey, but was dropped because they felt the studio felt they needed a theme tune that was the actual name of the film. So Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is still out there in the world. You can find a copy of it, and it's great. And apparently it was the name that Bond became known by in the Far East when he went to Japan and so on later on. So there we are. And also, Johnny Cash submitted a song called Thunderball that the producers didn't like and didn't use.
Okay.
Bit of a snub.
Yeah.
Bit of a, yeah. So, what do we think? Tom Jones's theme song.
I quite like it. The vocal is, I laughed a lot hearing that he fainted because it's hardly bloody surprising. He's given it a lot.
He has one volume, which is 209. Yeah. There's no sort of subtlety, is there? The whole thing's at maximum volume.
Yeah. But it's not really among his greatest hits, I would say. No. Whereas like Bassie's, she's always going to do the Bond stuff, isn't she? If you go and see her. Tom Jones is more not unusual, Delilah. Sex Bomb, more recently.
Sex Bomb.
But it's pretty cool, and the is it a fanfare or the
sting? You tell me, you're the musician. You should know what you're the Tom Scriven music on SoundCloud, by the way. He's good, this man. But I guess it is a fanfare, a brass accompaniment.
But the visuals, again, I know we're just really rating the song, but just to say about the title sequence is really cool. I do like these, the silhouettes of the women. This one, obviously, is not just letting you know there's going to be a load of water in this movie because they're all underwater.
Because they're all underwater.
Yeah, but it looks really cool and goes well with the tune, but I'd say 6 out of 10 for the...
Is that all? Yeah. 6? Ooh, that's interesting. That's a low score for you. I've gone 7 out of 10. Sorry, I've confused you by giving 2 scores at once.
Yeah.
A 7 and a 6. That's your lowest score for a theme tune by some distance. That's interesting.
I know, it's still above 5.
Well, no, I know that 6 is more than 5. Thanks for the clarification.
Just so I clarify.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
But I'm just saying I don't hate it. It's just...
It's not Goldfinger.
My favourite one.
Yeah. So, music and score is the next category. Now, I tell you the interesting thing with this, that there is a lot of music in this film, more so than usual, for the simple reason so much of the film takes place underwater, where of course there is no sound.
Yeah, so you've got all this. Oh no, I've lost my sustain. That kind of thing. Lots of semitones and just very eerie sounding.
You've turned into Bill Bailey.
Yeah.
I'm quite impressed with that.
I was trying to be a serious musician.
No, yeah.
Because I was going to say, you've also got this bit, it's only really 3 notes, you see. You've got your G, your F, and your, what's that one? E flat, right?
What's that one? I don't know. What are you asking
3 notes, and it just, it's simple. And what's interesting about this one is if you play that backwards, it sounds shit. Isn't that fascinating?
I thought you were going to say there was some tune. I was thinking, what tune is that? Why is he playing it backwards?
No, it's awful. So always play songs the right way round.
Forward.
I say.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's great advice for budding musicians out there.
Yeah.
So I have gone 8 for the score.
Cool.
And you've gone 9.
I got 9.
Giving us 17.
So,
again, score was by John Barry. Barry at his biggest and finest, and
right.
Stunts. I think that's it.
Must redo these.
I can just see UNTS, which let's not go any further. Stunts. I mean, does the underwater stuff count as a stunt? I think we should count it.
So,
it's potentially very dangerous if the aqualung.
I was thinking they must have had because they wouldn't have been able to unless they had headphones in. They couldn't really hear direction.
No. Well, apparently
so
they
must have been signing going on.
Sign language,
And if I was on that shoot, I'd just be swimming the wrong way. And everyone's, Tom, come back!
I do.
Oh, we've lost it.
We've lost Tom.
He'll work it out.
He'll turn up. I do.
10 miles later.
I do like the bit where they're underwater and Largo suddenly spots Bond, but he can't say anything because they're underwater. So he just sort of starts waving and pointing at Bond. Look, that's him there. I mean, lots of good stunts in this. The people at the end who get towed by the neck by the aircraft as it flies over, that must have been a little, right at the very end. That must have been a little uncomfortable, should we say? There's also Bob Simmons again jumps into a shark tank, and the sharks were live. and there was no plexiglass for him.
Right.
So that is a genuinely quite ballsy thing to do.
I was, because these days, you're watching a movie and you're just thinking, well, it's either CGI'd or, apart from a few good filmmakers who do ridiculous stunts these days.
Yeah.
Like when you're watching a film that was 65 with sharks, kind of like someone probably got.
Yeah, if they look live, they probably are.
Yeah. So it does kind of give it that extra tension of.
There is a man in there with them.
Yeah.
So I have gone for an 8 for stunts. Which I think it's more sort of stunt heavy than some of the previous movies.
There's a few little ones as well, like a few ones that kind of made me laugh. Is it stunt where there's a bloke hiding in the shower, so he puts like...
Bob Simmons again.
Yeah.
So I hope he got paid like $10 million for this movie.
Yeah, so he just, puts the hot water on him, then smashes him in the face with the door, and then punches him in the face. Things like that I enjoyed, and... About that, there's a guy hanging over the car when he's with Fiona and Largo.
Yeah.
And he's like, if I spill that booze and then get Fiona's cigarette, and it blows up.
Yes. The entire car goes up.
Well, there's this massive explosion, so that's what happens.
Yeah. And of course, the scene where Count Lippy is killed, there's some quite serious motorbike riding in that.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
And they had to apparently run the car off the road for the crash.
Yeah.
But of course, you couldn't see the driver, so the stuntman was kind of down in the footwell driving the car. So, I've gone 8 for stunts. I think stunt heavy movie.
Yeah.
Probably the most stunt heavy movie so far, I think, of the series. That's an 8, is it?
That's an 8. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm going 9.
You're in a generous mood this evening.
Yeah.
You're scoring big, aren't you? Vehicles. What you got for vehicles?
Well, you just mentioned the motorbike. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Fiona's bike. The DB5 we've already sort of talked about. Makes only really a brief return because you think there's going to be another sort of similar thing to Goldfinger, but
so much of it takes place in the Bahamas, where obviously you can't have his DB5.
The Disco Volante itself.
And that was a genuine boat
that
they built around a smaller boat. So when it detaches, that's not a model, that is a boat. A genuine full-size boat. Although you wouldn't want to be on the bit that's left behind.
No.
That doesn't go anywhere. Because all those guys are basically just sitting ducks at that point, aren't they? Why are they defending this shell of a boat? But anyway. It's a great ship, the Disco Volante. You're right. Probably didn't see quite enough of the DB5. I am saying 7 for vehicles.
I've done the same.
Have you?
Yeah. There's a bit the plane, the Duval, well, not Duval, the guy
pretending to be
Duval. There is a bit of that when it goes underwater that looks a little airfixy.
Yeah.
But,
on the whole.
Why not?
On the whole,
we're both
good.
7s.
2 7s, please. There's 2 7s for vehicles. Villain. Now, you mentioned Austin Powers earlier on.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have an archetypal Bond villain in this movie. Big guy, swarthy, he looks like he can look after himself. And, of course, eye patch. So it becomes a Bond trope, doesn't it, in spoofs and things like that. The villain generally wears an eye patch.
Yeah. He looks a little bit like Steve Bruce. With an eye patch on.
I'm sure we'll get the 3 points on Saturday. I won't be able to see it. I'm going to write that down because I won't be able to see that movie again without thinking, oh, there's Steve Bruce. Yeah, he does look a bit like former Sunderland manager Steve Bruce. Also, Largo's voice was dubbed, which you can't see again, I think. Normally you can tell, so pretty good. One thing they did say is Adolfo Celli, apparently, in the scene where they're in the casino and they're playing Baccarat, he apparently had never been to a casino, didn't know anything about gambling or whatever else. So he actually does quite a good job to make it look like he belongs at the table and he's throwing the cards down and giving it all that.
In that, is that his mum who sat next to him as well? I don't know if you...
There is an older lady, yeah.
But that's fair enough. If he takes his mum out.
Emilio, what have I told you about gambling too much? Now you do your homework and then you go straight to bed. I've gone 8 for the villain. I think he's a pretty legendary central villain.
I've matched you again. I got it, yeah.
Despite the fact that you're seeing this for the first time and I'm word perfect on the first hour.
Yeah.
So 2 8s makes 16 children. That's yeah. Do you want to redo these afterwards, or
I don't know.
You can see.
Yeah.
Okay. Henchmen, or really, let's be honest, henchwomen. Because I think the film is basically stolen by Fiona.
Okay.
She's just a fantastic character.
Yeah.
And just a brilliant henchwoman.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Clearly as mad as a box of frogs, but that's kind of part of the attraction and part of the appeal, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And I think the scene, obviously we get to see Blofeld again, although we haven't heard his name at this point.
Yeah.
And you have that classic scene where they're all sat, all the baddies are sat around, and they all look quite respectable, even though they're all talking about doing terrible things. We murdered this guy and took all his money. Awfully sorry,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we got some brilliant henchmen.
Some great switcheroo as well with who's he actually gonna do in how.
Was it number 12?
Can't remember.
Yeah, I think
10,
it was 9 and 12 maybe.
No, 5's the guy from Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
Everyone remembers that.
Flash Gordon again.
Yeah, there's also Vargas.
Well, it has been 10 minutes since your last reference to Flash Gordon.
Vargas and Yanni.
Yeah.
He doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke.
He does not make love.
What does he do?
What do you do, Vargas? Not much.
He plays a banjo.
He answers the phone at one point and then he gets shot.
Yeah.
That's pretty much his role.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I've written down a 7 here, but I'm going to revise that up to an 8. I think this is an 8 for henchmen stroke women.
And once again, I've matched your score.
We've got some consistency in our scoring.
We have.
We're not very far apart, are we? What's next?
Location.
Okay. What do you say? The location.
Well, I like the Bahamas, but I'm kind of rating this more on the underwater bit. Is location shooting, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah.
And I was extremely impressed by all of that stuff and the look of it and everything. Yeah. It looks great. So yeah, apart from there's a shot of the Eiffel Tower. It's all right. When they're at the beginning in Paris.
I like seeing France on the screen.
Yeah.
So I love a bit of a thing about France.
Okay.
And I do like the Bahamas very much on the screen. Bit samey. We saw it quite similar with Dr. No. Or maybe that's what audiences were asking for in the 60s, because not many people had travelled long distances or anything like that. So I guess let's just have more beaches and more sand and more sunshine and take you away from the fact that you're watching this in Bradford in 1965, So I can understand why they did it. So location, I've got 2 numbers down. I don't know which one to choose. Go on, what are you going to choose?
I'm saying 8. Well done for slicking it up like we talked about.
Thanks, cheers. I'm going to go 7 then. Sorry. I meant to... The idea was we do our scores in advance this week, so there wouldn't be someone sat there going... like
we normally do.
So apologies for that. Yes,
right.
Very unprofessional of me. What was that? Sorry, 15 between us?
Yeah.
I'm adding it to the running total.
Okay.
All right. Maths is the winner.
Always.
Story. Now, of course, this was wrapped up in all sorts of legal shenanigans. And we said it was very similar to the novel. So you have the theft of nuclear warheads, a very big thing in 1965. Cuban Missile Crisis happened not long before. So everyone was very worried about the potential of nuclear weapons falling into the wrong hands and so on and so on. So apposite, I think, is the word.
And I talked about Austin Powers, but I think this probably is the Mike Myers' most... The one he's influenced the most by,
Austin Powers film.
It is that, let's just hold the world to ransom, do what we always do. The classic hold the world to ransom story here. Yeah.
But they stuck pretty closely to the novel. This was one of the last times they did this. There were elements in later movies. The next movie is totally different to the novel. So this was really the first 4 are the ones where they stick closest to the novels. This was really the last time they did this. So I'm going 7 for the story.
I tell you,
I do genuinely. Have you been copying my work?
I'm not making this up. This is
Sir, he's copying my work.
Previously.
Yeah, I don't believe you.
Otherwise, I'm in a 9, wouldn't I?
Have you been looking at my house again to see what my scores are? I've told you about that before, haven't I? What's the next category?
If I was going to be looking into your house, I'd need a special gadget for that, wouldn't I? So let's...
Right, so slick, wasn't it? Right on cue, that. Brilliant.
Yeah? It's time for...
Gadgets, gags, and girls.
It's gadgets, gags, and girls. Bayek. Oh, they don't make any of them like they used to, do they? Gadgets. It's a gadget-tastic movie, this. I've got... Now, here's my list. You may have more, but here's my list.
Yeah.
I've got the return of the gadget-laden DB5 and a fuller array of gadgets perhaps displayed this time. I've got the jetpack.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, was real. Very dangerous.
I was thinking because there's one or two shots where you can tell they've done a bit of superimposement, but the actual long ones, it's like they wouldn't have been able to do that.
There is a guy flying that jetpack. It was a genuine thing. In fact, one was flown at the first Super Bowl the following year. So it was a genuine thing, but bloody dangerous.
Yeah.
So you can only be up in one for about like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's the jetpack. Then there's the underwater jetpack, which fires Bond along much faster than everybody else at the end, where he's basically wearing a fridge on his back, which helpfully produces bright yellow smoke, so he's completely inconspicuous for the final battle. He's wearing a barrel on his back, which is bleeding out this bright yellow smoke. There's the little breathing device called a rebreather.
Yeah.
Which is complete nonsense, by the way. Could never possibly happen. There's the mini flare that he has in his hand. There's the radioactive pill that he has to swallow. And there's a camera Geiger counter that he gives to Domino. And I think his Geiger counter is also a watch in this.
Yeah.
Now, have I missed any?
Well, not from... No, the only thing I cannot believe we got to this late in the episode and I haven't talked about that stretching machine.
Oh, yeah.
Because, it's a sort of a gadget and
It's a
the
gadget
one I'm
of
talking
torture.
about is the one where it's Clippy?
Lippy. Count Lippy. Clippy. Although Clippy would be a better name. Bring Clippy. Well, come on, Clippy.
He sets it to a setting that says danger next to it, which I don't know why that exists.
Why would he have a setting that goes up to like 1 million when 20 would kill a man?
And it makes it look like he's getting bummed by a ghost.
Yeah,
really.
It does a bit. Yeah, there's no easy way to say that.
Yeah.
Good evening, Tom's mum. By the way.
Hi, Mum.
Yeah, no, nice.
And then,
although that is actually taken from the novel. Not the getting. I mean, Fleming doesn't actually say getting bummed by a ghost. That whole scene and the confrontation between them.
And then he gets his revenge in a really kind of. It's like a really juvenile way that also you think he could have killed him by steam. By leaving he leaves the thing by the
steams
door.
Him in the steam.
Yeah, I just wanted the next scene for him to be like in a cartoon or choreography where
when he gets
completely red faced.
When you next see him and he's being chased along by Fiona in the car, you're right. You should really have all wearing bandages and sticking on loads of lotion or something to try and bring the swelling down. So anyway, look. Gadget-tastic movie.
Yes, indeed.
The most gadget-heavy movie by far to this point in the series. So, I mean, assuming you like lots of gadgets, you're well away. So I'm going to go big 9, I think, for gadgets. I think
I've actually gone lower.
Have you? Really? Why? Have you over-gadgeted this movie?
I don't know why, because it's just, the other ones have done well, so my scoring doesn't make a lot of sense. But, because I really enjoyed Q again.
The scene with Q is
he walks into the frame and Bond goes, "Oh no!" So disrespectful. And he's got and he knows how to dress in the right, location.
Yeah.
And
I think it's the knee-high socks that really do.
Bond shouldn't be going. "Oh no, you should be going to see Felix. This is what you fucking wear." Sorry,
I like the knee-high socks. I think anytime the temperature goes above about 15 degrees, I think we should always wear shorts and knee-high socks.
Oh, I'm going 8. So
you're going 8.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Gags. It's gags. Let's do some gags, shall we? Right.
There are some all right
Bond and Q walk into a bar. Go on, you were going to say.
Did you hear him say, "See you later, irrigator"?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's all right. I think that's puntastic.
Yeah, it gets very quiet, and he's like, well, it definitely said irrigator. Okay.
I mean, the scene with Bond and Q is very comedy heavy.
Yeah,
where
that
he
was
sort
good.
of tried to be
Really
slightly
good.
less than your usual frivolous self. 007
I'm
and all
on
that
team
is
Q with
is
this.
very good.
Yeah.
I think he got the point. Is perhaps
Yeah.
the punniest pun in the series so far.
Probably.
After he speared Vargas.
I've got.
There are two things. I think we talk about gags and we talk about one-liners, but I
Yeah.
think there are a couple of scenes in this that are really genuinely comedic and really genuinely funny. One is the clay pigeon shooting scene with Largo, when he goes, seems terribly difficult, and shoots the thing without even looking.
Yeah.
I think the way both Connery and Adolfo Celli play that is perfect.
Yeah.
Because he's being nice, but you can tell Largo is only just keeping a lid on it, because Bond's doing the whole, no it isn't, is it?
Yeah.
Hands it back, and he's like, no.
Yeah.
And he's trying to be sort of super nice. The other one is the when Fiona's in the bath, and he says, she says, aren't you in the wrong room? He says, not from where I'm standing. And she says, could you give me something to put on? So he hands her a pair of shoes, which I'm sorry, I think that's a brilliant line. It does need a bit of that. It needs to sort of, doesn't it? You know.
I've got this under gags. Barely qualified when Fiona's been shot and they've been dancing.
Oh,
and he puts
yeah.
it down. He kind of sounds a bit like Partridge because he just goes, my friend sits on someone out, she's just dead. And he just walks off. She's just dead.
There are, I mean,
He didn't
occasionally,
really try.
occasionally to make the gags work, they do say some things that you're like, well, no one says that in real life. So anyway, it's a gag-tastic movie with some very sort of excellent comedic scenes in. So and some of them later on, they obviously make deliberate attempts to try and be a bit more serious. And so I think you need a bit of levity in the films. So I'm going 9, I think, for gags.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm going all the way up to a 9.
So this is where we have changed quite a bit here because I've only gone 6.
Oh, really?
And now I feel really harsh.
Too gag heavy for you? No, there's no need to feel harsh. There is no right or wrong.
Yeah, there was. Yeah,
Just a bit too much.
perhaps.
Too many puns. Too many one-liners.
They're just a bit too gaggy. All the gags.
All the gags. No, I find all the gags a bit gaggy. Oh.
Nah, it's good stuff, but yeah.
Okay, we shall finish, as Father Jack would say, girls.
Girls.
So, obviously we have Domino.
Domino.
Domino is quite a sort of complex character because she's what's the word? Kept woman, I think is what she was, a mistress, basically, of Largo. And she's sort of in many ways quite sort of innocent and quite, what's the word? Sort of quite quietly spoken and quite sort of shy. And yet, she is one of the very, very, very few Bond girls to kill the main baddie.
Right, yeah.
And again,
That's a cool bit.
great pun, when she kills him, she says, I'm glad I killed him. And he says, you're glad.
Yeah.
But again, I think that seems really good.
Yeah.
And I think she's a really, really good character. We've already talked about Fiona.
Yeah.
I believe the technical phrase is schwing.
All right.
But again,
Drives
very
like
much a sort of ass-kicking female assassin, great
She's
character.
A good baddie. Drives
really
like a
good
maniac.
Yeah.
And I like...
A very memorable character.
And just back on Domino, when Bond's
As it
trying
were.
to chat her up, he says, hey, you swim like a man. Which, I might try that one out.
I wouldn't.
No?
Try that out down the swimming pool. The lifeguard will throw you out.
Swim like a man. What?
Yeah, that should have gone into the anything that wouldn't be included now section, shouldn't it? I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, the girls as characters, I think, are brilliant characters.
Yeah.
Also, I think Nurse Fearing is a good character. I like Paula.
Paula's a bit of a
genuinely quite
doormat.
sad when Paula dies.
She's a bit pushed around, isn't she? Just sort of...
Yeah.
Right, I'm getting on the boat, you can sort yourself out kind of thing.
So, good characters.
Yeah.
I'm going 9, I think.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I'm scoring all these quite highly tonight.
I've only gone 7.
Right.
But, yeah, 7's quite high, isn't it?
First
Really?
impressions. So, just to recap on the scores. Dr. No 143, From Russia with Love 184, Goldfinger 191, Thunderball has scored, are you ready for this? 1, 8,
Simon Cowell.
6.
The 186.
So it goes into second place behind Goldfinger and just 2 points in front of From Russia With Love. Now, do you know what's really interesting about that? Whenever, because in the Bond Twitter community,
Hi, folks.
Hi, people. Hi, people of Bond Twitter. Every so often, we'll do our rankings.
Yeah.
That was rankings. And I always put From Russia With Love slightly above Thunderball, and yet Thunderball has a higher score doing it this way. When we sort of break down the components, Thunderball has a higher score. So Thunderball goes into second place behind Goldfinger and just in front of From Russia With Love. So that's the pop-tastic pick of the pops, mate.
Well done, mate.
Right, is that it? Have we done another episode?
I think we have, haven't we?
Okay, brilliant. And I've made it through this entire episode without saying that this is a podcast. So
I hadn't even noticed.
Well done, me.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. So we'll see you next time for the next podcast, YouTube
So close.
cast show thing. And we'll see you next time when we will be talking about You Only Live Twice.
See you next time.
Thank you very much for watching. Love you. Bye.
Bye-bye.